truth. Bring it on.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth?
I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk. Asking you to become part of things. Go to the American Family Radio Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth Facebook page, and you can interact live with me right now. And you can also click on a phone call that was taken by our news director, Fred Jackson, from a Fort Hood survivor's mom. Quote, "My son gets nothing for his heroism." It is something that you need to check out. One News Now, onenewsnow.com. You will see it. You can go there directly. It's a testament to American Family News, onenewsnow.com. And you hear at the top of the hour, every hour, with great folks like Chris Woodward and Jody Brown and Becky Ye and Chad Groening and Charlie Butts. Remember, you're home right here. We take care of you. No reason to change. Yeah, I got a little strong with the bunny stew, I know. Okay. Previous. But it's a way I can say that somebody is not telling us the truth. Someone who is all too familiar with people not telling the truth in our government is Hans von Spakovsky. He is the senior legal analyst at the Heritage Foundation. He is also a former member of the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. He is the author of Who's Counting? And he is a fantastic writer because he's able to explain the legal system to people like me. So thank you, Hans. How are you, buddy?
Great. I'm doing great. Thanks.
Did you get my email regarding someone's take on Bradley Manning? I asked that because you wrote a wonderful piece about Bradley Manning receiving exactly the justice he deserved. And there are those out there who have a different take. And I wanted to just give you an opportunity to address some of the things that are being said about people like Bradley Manning. Bradley Manning, of course, is famous or infamous for his WikiLeaks investigation and leaking those documents. And the fact is, what he's being described by some as a hero. Why is he a criminal? I would say someone who is a traitor, that's me speaking, and not a hero. Hans?
Well, because, look, he released literally hundreds of thousands of classified documents without any regard for the danger that he was exposing not just our troops to, but people civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan who provided intelligence to us. And there's simply no justification for that. And, the article that you sent me, unfortunately by a guy from a Fox affiliate in St. Louis, I mean, it had so many mistakes and so many problems in it. I'm not quite sure where to even get started with all the foolish things that the guy said in his editorial.
Yeah, at some point I'm going to bring you on and we can detail them because this is what's being put out, and it's Fox News, mind you. But I sent that to you because we talk about it every day. There are things said and covered. There's lying by omission. There is the actual misstating of information. And this is what is the problem, because logically you look at the mess we're in, Hans, and you say, well, if people had a fair shake, a look at the facts, why on earth would they choose policies that would inevitably yield the result that we are experiencing currently? And I could say that economically, national security, and culturally. The courts are where we're supposed to get justice. The courts are supposed to say evidence, law, Constitution. And yet we still have cases where we are considering the color of someone's skin as a factor in if they will be admitted to a university or not. Hans, what is going on?
Well, it's an unfortunate consequence of the fact that back in 2003, when Justice O'Connor was still on the court, she put out an opinion that said that you could take race into account in college admissions. I mean, look, the American people all think that's wrong. You know, they understand that's discrimination, and it doesn't matter whether you're discriminating against or in favor of people. That's just wrong. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court has upheld it. Now, they have said it can only be done under certain very limited, narrow circumstances, but it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be able to do that under any circumstances. And I don't know what to tell you other than it's an unfortunate consequence of the way the court has ruled.
And how is this manifesting today, Hans?
Well, it's manifesting today because this issue came up just recently before the Supreme Court involving the University of Texas in Austin, which was sued over the fact that they do take race into account. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court said they could do it, although they sent the case back down to the courts to make sure that the university was only doing it under certain very strict and limited circumstances. That's a situation, you know who could change that and stop it? The Texas legislature.
And hopefully they will do just that. Eric Holder, he's the chief law enforcement officer in the land. And yet, his under oath testimony before Congress regarding James Rosen has been described by the House Judiciary Committee as being misleading and false. Hans, why do we have an attorney general who has either lied by omission or has been caught not telling the truth under oath? Why is he still the attorney general?
Unfortunately, because the president doesn't seem to care about any of that and has fully supported him despite all of these things. Actually, Crane, it's kind of funny. I was talking today to a longtime veteran of the Justice Department who actually knew Holder when he just got out of law school and came to work at the department. And what he tells me is that Holder started out as a very good lawyer, but this veteran tells me that he clearly became so politicized over the years that, you know, now he's just a terrible attorney general who's not interested in justice, but he's interested in politics at his particular side of the political aisle.
What does this do to our country when we have a president that is selectively enforcing the law as well as overruling legislation, literally saying 1 year, I can't do this, it's not in my power. It's Article 1 powers for Congress, the legislative process to do it. I can't, and does the very thing he says he could not do with the case of the Obama Dream Act. What does it do to a country that starts to go down this road? Hans?
Well, look, if you want to see what happens when you go down that road, then you can go to some of the unfortunate countries in places like Africa, Central America, and South America where there is no rule of law. You know, what governs is who has the most money. Those places are ripe with corruption, and those are not places that I think the average American would want to live.
How close are we? And are we closer now and historically than we've ever been to that? At least we'll say 20th and 21st century history.
I think we are unfortunately headed down that path, and our way down that path has rapidly accelerated in the last 5 years, and I find that to be very unfortunate.
How serious is it when the House Oversight Committee chair says, look, you're slow walking the investigation in the IRS and subpoenas the Treasury Secretary Jack Lew?
Look, it's really important because our system only works when people adhere to the law, people in the executive branch do what they're supposed to do, And when people violate the law or violate their duties, they're called to account for it. When they are willing to basically ignore the law, to ignore calls for investigations, to ignore congressional oversight, the system starts to break down because there's not really a lot that can be done to stop that.
The ultimate judge would be, or the way to, if Congress isn't going to act, if our government's not going to hold itself accountable, we the voters get that opportunity. And who's counting? You give us ways to get involved. Now more than ever, it seems that we better get a hold of this process and involved as American citizens, not conservative, liberal, or otherwise, but the desire for accountability, because once you pervert the polls, we're pretty much done for, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, and people need to really keep in mind that we have elections coming up next year, federal elections, and state and local elections, and people really need to pay attention to that. And look, citizens out there, conservatives, boy, get involved, run for office, or help other conservatives run for office, because that's the only way we're going to be able to change things and reverse the bad trends that are going on all over the country.
Hans, I can't say that any better. Bravo. Who's counting? Read the book. And that's not you, Hans. You wrote the book along with John Fund, of course. But it's great to be with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Crane. Good night.
Take care. All right, Hans von Spakovsky. And I say right, left, get involved if you desire accountability. If your desire for justice is, and your justice, what you believe justice is, blind to R's and D's and liberal conservative, but just focuses in on the evidence and the truth, and quite frankly brings accountability. If you have the confidence enough in your agenda ideologically that you're willing to play by the rules, and you trust that in making your case you will win it, if you have the confidence of your convictions, yeah. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Get involved. Ryan Morrow, next AFR Talk.